Hello and welcome back. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at IDs and classes, which are ways that we're able to solve the problem of applying a CSS style to just a specific element or a single component rather than a full set of elements. So we saw in the last section that we were able to apply it to every single table, for instance, but maybe we want to apply something to just one table or just some of the tables. IDs and classes is going to give us a method to be able to do that. So, understanding that, let's take a look at some code to see how we can apply these sorts of ideas. So first off, let's talk a little bit about IDs and classes. An ID can be added onto any HTML element in order to give it some form of unique identifier. Now the ID is unique, so there's only one instance of that ID, and that can be applied to the style.css in order to style something with a specific ID. So for example, if I wanted the first table to have a specific styling, but only the first table, what we could do is we could say ID equals and then give it an ID. The ID could be pretty much anything, right? So for instance, we could say something like first table. And then what we could do is we can apply the style specifically to first table. So if I come over here, instead of doing all of the tables here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a hashtag and then the first table, which is the ID. The hashtag indicates that we're targeting an ID, and then first table is the name of the ID that we are targeting. With this, let's go over to our table here. Let's take a look at what happens. You can see that the style only applied to the element that has the ID first table, which in this case is the table element. So you can see that the border is only around the table and nothing else. Now, of course, in this instance, that isn't really too helpful because we actually wanted to apply it to the table header and table data, right? So for that sort of idea, we're actually going to turn to a different concept known as a class. And a class is an identifier that we can apply to one or more elements rather than just a single element. So you can think of a class as something that categorizes elements together, whereas an ID is something that uniquely identifies the element itself. So let's change this to class instead. Now let's go ahead and apply this to the other things that we want to format. In this case, I think we want to format the table header, and let's format the table data as well. So you can see that they're all given this class, which means they're all going to be formatted the same way when we target this class. Now the question is, how do we target the class? Rather than putting the hashtag here, we're going to put a dot here. The dot will target the class rather than the ID. So dot means class, so this will target the first table class. So when I come back over to my table here, you can see now that it's applied it to, well, it's applied it to half of it. It looks like I probably just missed one here. So let's just go ahead and get the second one in there as well. Yes, we want to apply it to the other table datas and table headers, of course. Just like this. So this would be the way that we would do that. Now we can come back over here, and you can see that it applies it to all of those different elements that we added the class to. So you can see that this is a way of being able to add styles to specific elements rather than all of the elements that match a specific identifier. Now, there are other things that we can do here. You know, we can target like the first table specifically. We could target the last table. We could do like an nth child to target like the second or third or something among those lines. Those are a little bit more advanced. I'm just raising them here to say they do exist. You can use them. And if you want to learn more about those, you can. But typically styles and IDs is really the main way that we go about targeting different elements in HTML. So that's the main one that I want to talk about here. So to summarize, we have IDs, which are unique identifiers for elements, classes, which are non-unique ways of categorizing elements together. And using these, we can apply styles to unique elements as well as elements that exist in a specific class. Classes are targeted with a period, IDs are targeted with a hashtag, and that pretty much sums everything up. So thank you very much for watching this video. In the next video, we're just going to go over some more CSS components that are important to be familiar with. And then from there, we're going to move on to some other things that we can learn related to web development. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.